Finn, something happened yesterday, and now I can't stop thinking about it. I checked how much my money was worth in different countries, and suddenly the exact same amount of money became completely different numbers. In one country, it became a little less, in another, it became thousands. How can the same money change like that? Who decides how much a country's money is worth? And why does that value keep changing every single day? More importantly, why do different currencies have different values?
Those are exactly the questions we're going to answer today. And here's the surprising part before we can understand why different currencies have different values. We first have to answer a much more important question. Why does any money have value? Once you understand that, everything else starts making sense.
Honestly, this has always confused me. Money is just paper. Or nowadays, just numbers on a screen. Why does everyone treat it like it's something valuable?
Good question. Imagine you buy a movie ticket online. You arrive at the cinema and show a tiny QR code. Now think about it. That QR code isn't made of gold. It isn't expensive yet. It opens the door. Why?
Because the cinema accepts it.
Exactly. The QR code isn't valuable. The trust behind it is. Money works almost the same way. Whether it's paper coins or just numbers on a screen, they all work for one simple reason. People trust them. More importantly, they trust someone else will accept them tomorrow.
So, money isn't valuable because it's paper coins or just numbers on a screen. It's valuable because everyone agrees to accept it.
Right. Now imagine you walk into a supermarket holding Monopoly money. You confidently place it on the counter, smile proudly, and wait for your groceries. What happens?
5 minutes later, I leave with my Monopoly money and without my groceries. The cashier might also recommend a very nice doctor.
Probably. Not because Monopoly money is printed badly, but because nobody trusts it as real money. Take away trust, and even the most beautiful banknote becomes just another piece of paper.
Wait, so the real value isn't inside the paper? It's inside people's minds?
Exactly. Money has value because people trust it has value.
Okay, that finally makes sense. Money has value because people trust it. But now I'm wondering something else. Did people always trust money? Or did they first trust something else?
That's where the real story begins, because people didn't always trust money. Long before today's currencies, people trusted what stood behind the money. Once you understand what that was, you'll understand how modern money was born.
Wait, so money hasn't always worked like today's money?
Not at all. In fact, for most of history, people didn't trust money the way we do today. Paper notes weren't considered valuable by themselves. Each note represented a fixed amount of gold. If you had that paper, you could exchange it for real gold. This system was called the gold standard.
So people weren't really trusting the paper, they were trusting the gold behind it.
Exactly. That's why governments couldn't simply print unlimited money. If they wanted to create more money, they usually needed more gold first.
That actually sounds pretty safe. So why did countries stop using it?
Because the world kept changing. More people, more businesses, more factories, more trade, more countries working together. The global economy was growing much faster than the world's supply of gold. Eventually, keeping enough gold behind every note became almost impossible. So one country after another left the gold standard. Today, almost every country uses something called fiat money.
Hold on, if there's no gold behind it anymore, why does anyone accept it?
Because people trust it. Fiat money simply means money that works because people trust it, even though it isn't backed by gold.
So first people trusted the gold. Today, people trust the money itself.
And that's the important part. What gives money value has changed. But one thing never changed: trust.
Okay, I finally understand why money has value today, even without gold. But now something else is bothering me. If almost every country now uses the same kind of money based on trust, then why isn't every country's currency worth the same?
That's where the real mystery begins. Because trust explains why money has value, but it doesn't explain how much it's worth. For that, we need one of the simplest ideas in economics: supply and demand.
Okay, so what exactly is supply and demand?
Imagine your favorite bakery today. They bake only 10 chocolate cakes, but more than 100 people want one. What do you think happens?
Those cakes disappear instantly. Some people might even pay extra just to get one before they're gone.
Exactly. Now imagine tomorrow. The bakery bakes 500 cakes, but only 10 customers show up. What happens now?
Now the bakery has a problem. Too many cakes, not enough buyers. If they don't lower the price, they'll be eating chocolate cake for the next 6 months.
Probably. Now notice something. The cakes didn't suddenly become tastier yesterday or worse today. Only one thing changed: how many people wanted them compared to how many were available. That's all supply and demand really means.
So when lots of people want something, its value usually goes up. And when fewer people want it, its value usually goes down.
Right. Currencies work almost the same way. If more people want a country's currency, its value usually rises. If fewer people want it, its value usually falls.
Okay, I think I finally get it. Trust gives money its value. Supply and demand decide how much that value becomes.
Exactly. That's why two currencies can both be trusted, yet still have completely different values.
But now I'm stuck on something else. If people don't buy another country's currency because they simply like it, then why do countries need other countries' currency?
That's the question that unlocks the next piece of the puzzle, because every single day without most people even realizing it, something creates demand for currencies all over the world. Trade.
Okay, I finally understand something. A currency becomes more valuable when more people want it. But here's what still confuses me. If I already have money, why would I ever need another country's money? Why can't everyone just pay using the money they already have?
Imagine you've opened a small bakery. Your cakes become so popular that people from all over the world want to buy them. But you have one simple rule: I only accept payment in my own country's currency. What happens?
If people want my cakes, they'll first need my country's money.
That's right. They're buying the currency because it's the only way to buy your cakes.
So people don't really want the money. They want what the money lets them buy.
Now scale that up. Imagine you're no longer selling cakes. You're an entire country. Every day you sell phones, cars, foods, medicines, clothes, machines, software, and thousands of other products to the rest of the world. Before anyone can pay, they often need that country's currency first.
So every time someone buys products, they're also creating demand for that country's currency.
And here's the interesting part. Countries don't become valuable because they print money. They become valuable because they produce things the world wants. And when the world wants those products, it also creates demand for that country's currency.
So the products are the real attraction. The currency is simply the ticket people need first.
Right. That's why countries that sell lots of products to the rest of the world often see stronger demand for their currency, because every international purchase starts with someone needing that country's money.
Now it finally makes sense. Trade doesn't just move products, it quietly moves currencies too.
Exactly. Trade creates demand, and demand helps decide how much a currency is worth.
Okay, that finally clicks. Trade creates demand, and demand helps decide how much a currency is worth. But buying products can't be the only reason people buy another country's currency, right?
Right. In fact, some of the biggest buyers aren't buying products at all.
Then what are they buying? And why would they ever need another country's currency if they aren't buying anything?
That's the next piece of the puzzle: investment.
Okay, I understand why businesses need another country's currency. They need it to buy products. But here's what I still don't get. Why would investors buy another country's currency? They're not shopping, so why do they need it?
Imagine you've saved some money. Now you want it to grow. You find two empty pieces of land. Both cost exactly the same. One is in an area where new homes, new businesses, and new roads are being built every year. The other has barely changed for years. Which one would you choose?
The first one, because it has a much better chance of becoming more valuable.
Exactly. Investors think the same way. They look around the world, searching for places where they believe their money can grow.
So they're not really looking for another currency. They're looking for better opportunities.
Exactly. The currency is simply the first step. Before they can invest in another country, they first need that country's currency.
So buying the currency is actually the beginning of the investment.
Exactly. Now imagine millions of investors all reaching the same conclusion. This looks like a great place to invest. What's the very first thing all of them need?
That country's currency.
Exactly. And when millions of people start buying the same currency, demand increases. And just like we learned earlier, when demand increases, its value can rise too.
So whether people are buying products or making investments, both create demand for a currency.
Exactly. And that demand helps decide how much a currency is worth.
Okay, that finally makes sense. But there's still one thing that's always confused me. Sometimes I go back to buy the exact same things from the exact same shop, and somehow I come back with fewer things, even though I'm carrying the same amount of money. Why?
Because that's actually the bigger question, not why did prices go up, but why does the same money buy less than it used to? Exactly. That's the question we need to answer next. Inflation.
Okay, now I'm really curious. How can the same amount of money buy fewer things, even though the money itself hasn't changed?
Imagine there's a small town. Every morning one bakery makes exactly 100 loaves of bread. And every day those 100 loaves are enough for everyone. Now imagine something strange happens. Overnight, everyone in town suddenly has twice as much money. But the bakery still makes only 100 loaves. What do you think happens?
Everyone rushes to buy bread.
Exactly. But the number of loaves hasn't changed. Only the amount of money has. So prices rise. Not because bread became better, but because more money is chasing the same amount of bread. That's inflation.
So inflation is quietly shrinking my money, not the number, the buying power.
Exactly. Inflation doesn't make things more valuable. It makes your money less powerful.
That finally makes sense. But now another question just popped into my head. If inflation can slowly weaken a currency, does anyone actually try to stop it?
Yes. In fact, it's one of the most important jobs in the entire economy. And one of the biggest tools they use is something you've probably heard countless times on the news: interest rates.
I hear this all the time. Interest rates have gone up. Suddenly the news starts talking about it. Businesses talk about it. Experts talk about it. Why? How can one small percentage be such a big deal?
Let's make it simple. Imagine you've saved some money. You walk into two different banks. Both are safe. Both will look after your money. The only difference is one bank says we'll give you 2% every year. The other says we'll give you 8% every year. Which one would you choose?
The second one, that's not even a difficult decision.
Exactly, because everyone wants their money to grow. Now imagine millions of people making that exact same decision.
So they all start moving their money to the place offering the better return.
Exactly, but before they can invest there, they first need that country's currency.
So first they buy the currency, then they invest.
Exactly, and when millions of investors start buying that currency, demand increases. And as we've already learned, higher demand can increase its value.
So that's why everyone gets excited whenever interest rates change. It's not really about the percentage, it's about where money starts moving.
Exactly. Interest rates don't directly change a currency. They change people's decisions, and people's decisions move money. When money moves, currencies move too.
So it's not really the interest rate moving the currency, it's millions of people responding to that interest rate.
Exactly. That's how one small percentage can end up moving an entire currency.
So money is basically always looking for the best deal.
Pretty much, money can be surprisingly greedy.
So higher interest rates must always be good then, right?
Not always. Higher interest rates can attract more investors, but they also make borrowing money more expensive. That means fewer home loans, fewer business loans, less spending, and sometimes slower economic growth.
So there isn't a perfect interest rate.
Exactly. The goal isn't to make the currency as strong as possible. The goal is to keep the entire economy balanced.
So now I finally get it. Interest rates don't magically change a currency. They change where people want to keep their money.
Exactly. And when millions of people make the same choice, currencies can move.
Okay, I think I finally get it. Every chapter answered a different piece of the puzzle. But before we finish, can we connect everything together just once so I can see how all these ideas combine to decide the value of a currency?
Absolutely, because currencies don't move because of one factor. They move because many different forces are working at the same time. So before we end, let's put the entire picture together.
Okay, I think I finally get it at the beginning. I thought there had to be one simple answer. One reason why one currency is worth more than another, but now it feels more like everything is connected.
Exactly, and that's actually the biggest lesson from this discussion. Currencies don't become valuable because of one single thing, they become valuable because many things work together.
So where does the story begin?
It begins with trust, because if people don't trust money, nothing else really matters.
And then we learned that money itself has changed over time. People once trusted gold, today they trust the money itself.
Exactly. Gold started the story, trust continues it.
Then comes supply and demand. More people wanting a currency can increase its value, less demand can reduce it.
Exactly. And that demand comes from many different places. Trade, investment, businesses, investors, all of them create demand for currencies.
And then inflation changes what money can actually buy.
Right, and interest rates can influence where people choose to keep their money.
So the answer to the question that started this entire video isn't one thing, it's all of them.
And that's really the answer. Different currencies have different values because different countries have different levels of trust, different demand, different trade, different investment, different inflation, different interest rates, and different economic conditions. That's why their currencies can never all have the same value.
So a currency's value isn't decided by one reason.
Exactly. It's the story of an entire economy.
Now I'm curious, what about all of you? Before watching this video, what did you think decided a currency's value? And did anything in this video surprise you?
Tell us in the comments. We read them. And if you have a finance question you'd like us to explain, leave that too. It might become one of our future discussions, because every great discussion starts with one good question. Maybe the next one will be yours. We'd also love to hear how we can discuss finance even better.
You know, I never imagined one simple question could explain so much about economics.
And that's why I love questions like this. Because one simple question ended up explaining how an entire financial system works. And believe it or not, this was only the beginning. Because now there's another question that has confused people for generations. If governments can create money, why can't they simply print unlimited money and make everyone rich?
Honestly, that sounds like the easiest solution ever. So why don't they just do it?
That's exactly what we'll discuss in our next discussion. See you there.